Okay. G'day, curd nerds. Today we're going to be making Queso Fresco, but in a different way. We're going to make it lactose free today. Oh, 2 thumbs up?
Yeah.
So Queso Fresco is a Mexican cheese, so it's used in Mexican cuisine such as quesadillas, tacos, and stuff like that. Watch us make it.
And the milk we're using today is Zymel lactose-free milk. You'll need 4 litres, and the other ingredients are 1/4 teaspoon of Mesophilic starter culture, 1/4 teaspoon of calcium chloride diluted in 1/4 cup of non-chlorinated water, 1/4 teaspoon of liquid rennet. I'm using single strength IMCU 200 diluted in 60 mils of cool non-chlorinated water, and you'll need a tablespoon of salt. So how did you think your pouring went there, Amy?
I think it was better than the second time round. I think the first one was okay.
So this milk is really good. It's sold here in Australia under the brand name Zymel, Z-Y-M-I-L. And it's actually had lactase added to the milk so that it breaks up the lactose into its 2 component sugars, glucose and galactose. So anybody who's lactose intolerant can drink this milk. Anybody who makes cheese with this milk can obviously have some lactose-free cheese. So it is real cheese by using real cheese making steps. So we turn the heat on and we heat the milk up to a grand total of 33 degrees Celsius. What's going on here, Amy, with the thermometer?
I'm clearly not very schooled at how to present thermometers to video cameras yet, so there you go.
Yeah, so 33 degrees Celsius, 92 Fahrenheit we heat the milk up to, and then we give it a bit of a stir. So what the double boiler was heating the milk up too much, so I asked Amy to just move the pot out the way while I was holding the milk and just pop it down there. Makes it a little bit easier to handle. So we're going to stir that through before we start adding some more ingredients in a second, I think. So just remove the thermometer. And Amy's got the Mesophilic starter culture. She's going to add that in. So the packet holds 1/4 teaspoon of Mesophilic starter culture. I'm just using the Mad Milli single-use sachet there. Now, stirring technique. What do you think there, Amy?
Well, I thought it was okay, but apparently not.
I think it worked fine. It's just how you do it. So we're stirring the milk just to mix the culture through. There was no rehydration period for this cheese, so we just didn't worry about the 5 minutes that we normally wait for rehydration. We just stirred it straight through. So we stirred for about a minute there. So once that was stirred through, we're going to add the liquid ingredients now. So what's the next ingredient, Amy?
The calcium chloride solution.
Very good. And we're just pouring that in, and we'll give that a mix for about a minute as well. So just enough. The calcium chloride is used to add back soluble calcium into the milk that's usually been destroyed during pasteurisation. That's the reason we use it. This milk has been pasteurised and homogenised, so we were a bit dubious about how the curd would set once we add the next ingredient, which, Amy, is...
Rennet.
Right, the rennet. So we're adding in our rennet there, diluted rennet, and we give it a bit of a stir there. So we stir for no more than 1 minute. If you stir for a minute, the rennet begins to set and you start breaking up the milk. That's not what you want to do. So just stirring that in, as I mentioned, get all the rennet mixed through the milk. So we're just going to cover that up now to prevent any dust or hairs getting in, and we're going to allow that to set at the 33 degrees Celsius or 92 Fahrenheit. The reason it's an hour is because there hasn't been any acid development. Okay, so after an hour, I showed Amy how to check for a clean break, and it was still a bit milky, so it hadn't quite set. So if this happens to you, then wait for another 10 to 15 minutes and then check it again. So I just checked it with the knife as well, and that was a sloppy curd set. Okay. So lid on again, wait the extra time. So we waited an extra 20 minutes, and we went back to have another look. So I instructed Amy how to use the curd knife here. Not quite probably that's how I said to use it, but maybe I should have 45 degree angle. But yeah, that's a much better curd set. So we're going to proceed to the next step, and that's cut the curd into 1.25 centimetre or half-inch cubes. So what do you think this little device was like?
It was pretty cool. Like, it was weird, but really cool.
Right. So that cut the horizontal cuts, and then I just showed Amy how to do the verticals, and she's doing that now.
And then you made me second guess myself about how I was cutting them. That's why I went over the same spot twice.
That's okay. You can go over the same spot twice. It's no big deal. Now, the curds were quite fragile, so we had to be careful during the next step. So once all the curd was cut, we made sure that we allowed sufficient healing time, so the sides of the curds, the cubes, could heal before we started stirring. So I'm going to allow that to heal for 5 minutes. So we've got the curds there. We're just gently lifting them, ever so gently. And we're going to do something special here. We're going to stir the curds whilst heating to 36 degrees Celsius or 97 Fahrenheit over the course of 20 minutes. So Amy's just stirring here, aren't you, Amy?
Yeah.
Anything about the stirring that you want to add in?
Well, apparently you're not allowed to slop it. You can't lift it up and then put it back in, even though it's really fun, because it'll make your whole curds turn into slop, and then you can only make ricotta, which is not a good thing.
That's right. So we gently stir them. We don't slop it around. Because these curds were so fragile because of the type of milk, and yes, it does look a bit mushy, but some of the curds were fracturing, but we persisted, and the good thing was the whey continued to stay fairly clear, so we knew we weren't losing a lot of the fat into the whey, so that's a good sign. So clearly we're not going to show the whole 20 minutes of stirring here, but something's going to happen. I think we speed it up in a sec. Or slow it down. Right, so this is 20 minutes later. So that's the size of the curd. It's probably about baked bean size, I would say, each cube, which is probably about the size we're after. Yeah. Seemed we were making it up as we went along. Okay, so we're going to let that settle down to make it easier to pour off the curds. So let that settle for 5 minutes. So we make sure the heat was turned off, and nothing else could affect the curds. So what's next, Amy?
Me doing an excellent pour into the cheesecloth?
Yes.
Or is that you? No, that's me.
That's you.
I feel like we've got very similar hands, Dad.
Why is that?
I don't know, we've just got both pretty pale, I think.
Well, you are my daughter, so... I don't have the sparkly nail polish on like you do. Okay, so what we're doing next is just putting the curds back into the pot, because there's a little bit of resting time to help the curds get some more whey out. Because clearly it's not going to drain enough. So we just put it back into the pot, and we're going to... What are we doing, Amy?
Adding the salt.
Right, so So we're just going to gently mill that through to make sure the salt's all the way through the curds. And the good sign was that the whey still wasn't going very cloudy, so we're not getting a lot of fat loss there in the cheese. So just taking it back over to the warm pot that I've got there. Just has to be kept warm for the next 30 minutes. That helps a lot more whey to get expelled out of the curds. So it was time for a tea break. Okay. So 30 minutes later. So what are you doing here, Amy?
I am putting the cheese stuff into the cheesecloth.
The cheese stuff.
Yes, the curds.
The curds. There we go. The curds. Yes, the curds are going into the cheesecloth lined basket. So I'm using the 800 gram basket for this amount of curds. And put the folio on top after we put the cheesecloth. Now, it was a little bit hard to get in there. So I managed to get that down there for Amy. And what are we doing here, Amy?
Putting the spring thing in the basket deal and putting the weight. I don't know if it's called a weight. The thing.
It's called a press.
Screwing the press down so that way there was 16 kilos of weight on there.
Yes, you guessed correctly.
Having some slight issues with righty-tighty, lefty-loosey there.
Yeah, and, that's right. So which way? Wrong way, and now we're going the right way.
Yeah, and then just trying to get the spring to stay underneath the block as it was trying to push it down was a fun time.
Yeah.
And then I think in the end, the actual like plastic disc thing didn't end up actually sitting like
flat,
horizontal. It was just sitting like at a weird angle, so I had to get Dad to fix it.
So I did fix it, and so we're pressing this for 6 hours at about 16 kilos. Just helps tighten up the curd and make it nice and firm. So yeah, I did have a bit of problem with this pressing plate because it doesn't have a little circle in the middle that the spring can sit on, like it does with the 165 mil basket. But if we had to use that basket, it would have been a very flat cheese. So this is just the right height. So 6 hours later, Amy.
Yeah, undoing the thingamajig. the press. Undoing the press.
Right, yes. Undoing the press. Releasing the cheese.
Yeah.
Release the kraken. Right, here we go. So we just take the follower plate out, pull the cheese out. I'm just going to put it on a nice little board there. And it's all done. Fantastic. We can eat this straight away or store it for about 2 weeks in the fridge. Right, well there you go, curd nerds. That's how you make lactose-free Queso Fresco. Didn't think it'd work out, but it did. The curds were very sloppy. What did you think of the whole procedure, Amy?
Oh, it was good.
Is that it? It's just good.
It was good.
All right, should we have a taste of it?
Yeah, why not?
All right, you put it there. I'll grab a knife.
It looks good.
There you go. You do the honours. Cut it in half first.
Half first.
Yeah.
It's so spongy.
There we go. Nice.
Half again?
Yep, half again.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Then pull a quarter out. It's like a cake, isn't it?
It is like a cake.
There you are. Cake silver slice. Beautiful.
It's not a very well cut slice.
Nice.
Do you want it half?
Face the camera.
Half?
They can't see. No, just eat it.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay.
Lactose free. You're lactose intolerant.
A lactose intolerant.
How's that taste?
Really good.
Really good? Really good.
It's a lot like sweeter than the other
Can
bit.
I have a bit? I'll have a bit. I'll break a bit off.
A non-contaminated bit.
There we go.
Yeah. It's like sweet.
It is sweeter, isn't it? I think it's because the milk's got lactase in it, and that breaks the lactose down into glucose and galactose. So you can taste the sweetness of the glucose in it. Very nice little cheese, don't you think?
It's nice.
There you go. So, thanks for watching Curd Nerds. If you want to watch another lactose-free cheese, then a video will pop up somewhere here on the screen. And that'll be the kefili that we made earlier. Don't forget that you can support the show via Patreon and via YouTube memberships. If you want to buy a kit, we recommend the hard cheese kit for this one. Thanks for watching Curd Nerds, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.